playoffs. So basically, as we said, that Friday,
We guessed.
that last 15 minutes of guessing doesn't matter now because we've got them. You can see them ticking across the bottom of the screen. We'll go through them. So what are we here to do? Obviously, we've got a whole slate of great games coming up at the weekend. We're going to do some predictions. We're going to talk about, the length some of these teams have to travel. Look at the news flash as well. There's some tasty ones on the news flash. So if you've been a naughty boy or girl and you found yourself on the news flash, prepared to be called out on the news flash. And then we're going to go into our predictions. We are going to still do brackets. Again, Jamie's not here because it's exam season in Qatar. It's weird that I have to say that it's exam season in Qatar, so he's not here. But yeah, simple as that. We now know what what the playoffs are going to look like, who we're going to be looking forward to seeing play, and who's got the chance of winning their respective trophy, promotion, all the good stuff. Also, going to talk about relegation as well, because obviously we now know the winners of the division, but we also now know who's going down and whether or not we think they're going to have a bounce back up season like a lot of teams have been doing over the last few years. So, starting it off, we're just going to run through the playoffs. You can see them at the bottom of the screen, but I'll do it nice and fast for you now. So, in the Prem, you've got the Bullets facing Loughborough, you've got Beckett facing Birmingham, Gold versus Portsmouth, SGS versus Durham. Nice replay of that great game from last year in Div
We've not
1.
got a graphic. We've got a graphic we can pull up.
We do, but it's not on the system.
Oh.
If you want the graphic, go to Sport Tank Instagram and Facebook. Also, I'm saying it, and also it's at the bottom of the screen. Multiple ways that they're getting informed. So in the Southern playoffs, obviously we didn't. I'm sure people were waiting for them to come out. They are now out. So in the South, Exeter versus KCL, UEA versus Bournemouth, Brunel versus Hertfordshire again, and Kent versus Oxford. A lot of good games in there. In the North, you've got another division matchup in NTU versus Sheffield, then Leeds versus Edinburgh, Manchester versus Stirling, and the Warwick Wolves travelling up to Glasgow, which we will talk about in the Northern Two. UClan face the Colonials, Lancaster face Derby, Northumbria face Edge Hill, and Nottingham Green take on Sheffield. In the Div 2 South playoffs, Swansea versus Gloucestershire, Sussex versus Imperial, Brighton versus Surrey, and God willing, Aberystwyth, you're travelling to London to face the UCL Emperors. So let's just go through. Let's just start off with how far some of these teams got to travel. I've highlighted two of the longest ones. We're going to start with Div 2. We had Sam Kimber on, and one of the questions I asked him was, how do you keep morale up on such a large travel? Because it's a 543.8 round trip, and one way there is 5 hours and 12 minutes in a car. Like, what's the longest journey you've ever made for football, not just uni ball? I'm sure that.
Oh, we had Teesside personally. That was Teesside and Aberdeen. I think were back-to-back weeks, and they were both 3.5, 4 hours each way.
See, I've not done any further than 2 hours.
Really?
Bristol SGS was 2 hours from Brunel because you just straight down the M4, and then Portsmouth was just shy of 2. Yeah, I've been quite lucky.
You haven't struggled for the cause.
No.
First year at Lincoln, we had an away playoff game at Edinburgh Napier, so a nice early morning start and about a 6 hour
on a good team
bus journey.
A good team, guys.
So, moving on to Div 1, the longest one that we've got is Warwick travelling to play the Glasgow Uni Tigers. Unsure of where they're playing. Dylan tells me it's.
I believe it to be Edinburgh due to the posts, but don't take my word for it. That was the news last week.
We've got them both. So the Wolves will be having a 643.6 round trip with 5 hours and 17 minutes, just barely beating out Aberystwyth. But if it's in Edinburgh, they've got a little bit more, 5 hours and 45 minutes. Again, this is all in a car, not in a coach. So, and a 649.4 mile round trip. Jeez, Bristol is a 4 hour. It's heavy. it's heavy. You got to keep yourself entertained on these bus journeys. But
See,
you know,
Div
That's,
1, you've got something to play for. In terms of budgeting, are you making that trip as a Div 2 team? I know it's something we
well,
fell foul of last year, and I personally wanted to play, but there's a few
truthfully, if you look at some of the comments that Aberystwyth have said, like, you know, they're very much proud of the fact that, you know, they're a team that is very much out of the way compared to, you know, other teams. And I think they make that journey. Like, they made the journey to Plymouth, and that journey is, you know, almost as long. So I think if you're Aberystwyth, they're very proud of themselves, and so they should be this season. Of course, they're going to go to face UCL. You know, like anything can happen. And, you know, like in terms of Div 2 playoff games, Aberystwyth versus UCL is one of the better ones that you look at and you go, well, potentially.
what time's kickoff?
Oh, I don't know.
Look,
It's probably about. I mean, hopefully for Aberystwyth, it's, you know, 12-1. You know,
surely they're looking at like that's got to be the distance where you consider making it like a miniature team tour and spending a night in London or something.
see,
But
the thing is though, is that this is the difference. I'm not sure as a Div 2 side if you'd get a hotel. That I don't know.
1:30. That's reasonable.
1:30 kickoff, reasonable. But no, I think as a Div 2 side, you know,
yeah, I know. I get what you mean. It's a horrendous travel.
you know, even Gary's saying it's an overnighter. Like, it'd be interesting to see if Warwick, you know, offer that out to the Wolves, because, you know, Glasgow versus Warwick, that's a game again. That's another good game where, you know, potentially Warwick could win that. But they, you know, they may be very well hampered by what could be, you know, pushing in a bus, you know, a 7-hour journey. And obviously, we don't know. I don't know I've not checked the kickoff time for that. Very well may not even be confirmed.
Well, if you had a 1:30 kickoff, you probably get there for 12 latest. So
you turn up fueled on a service station McDonald's, and
yeah.
No, but I don't think
you have a McDonald's breakfast followed by a McDonald's lunch. You turn up on game day, and off you go. That's the only thing.
It's a service station diet, 100% for that day.
Half one's not that bad. Like, you just got to leave at 6. It's a lot worse. It's a lot worse position to be in.
I think when Lincoln left for Edinburgh, we left at 4.
Yeah, see, that's.
Yeah, I definitely remember leaving somewhere around 5 something last year. I presume Teesside. That was a horrendously early one.
God, you know what, mate? I forgot all about the Teesside Cougars.
You know what I mean? You have what? Aberdeen were in the same league as Teesside last year.
Oh,
think about that one. That's a regular season game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I completely forgot about Teesside. I forgot that they've folded. They're Gonski now. So moving on, outside of the all of these travels, so we obviously know who's at the top of the table, but who's at the bottom of the table? Who will be having a new division next year due to relegation? And the question is, can they bounce up? Obviously, you know, as we said last week, because we don't know how the National League is looking, that we're going to approach this as if it isn't, because, you know, we don't know yet. And I'm sure we'll know by season's end.
There's a possibility that all the teams stay up.
100%.
Like a very unlikely possibility, but it just depends on who. There's two,
exactly. Like it very well could be that all these teams that are relegated stay up. You know, just based on it. But, you know, as it stands right now, because we don't know, we're going to approach it like a regular season. So just read them all out. In the Midlands one, Coventry Uni Jets, you know, finally fall after, you know, a fair few years, sort of circling the drain, so to speak. Northern one is confirmed. MMU and Hull will be going down. Southeast one will be QMBL. Southern will be Royal Holloway. Southwest will be Bristol. And in the Prem, obviously Cardiff and Newcastle. So the question is, do you think any of these teams can have a bounce back season? Because for me, there's an outlier here for me for a team that can bounce straight back up. And for me, it's the Bristol Barracuda.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think we mentioned Newcastle as well. I don't think.
No.
I think that that whole MMU battle next year could be quite good to watch. I'm not being funny. I don't think either of them were bad teams at the end of the season.
No,
Or even in the middle.
definitely not with Hull. Like Hull could definitely be one of those teams that realistically surprises everyone, especially after the surprising season that they've had this year, and go straight back up.
Getting booted down on the same record as two other teams in the division is so unbelievably brutal.
That's the fair walkovers. I don't I like MMU. Sorry, Connor. Like nothing really spectacular out of them this year, but they managed to survive relegation the year before. They were right on the cusp of relegation the year prior. QMBL. There you go. Even Gary's chiming in here. QMBL weren't a bad team, just a very small squad. They had 19 players at UEA and 22 at home to UEA.
They've never been a bad team, UEA. They're just all. I think the best way of putting it is just always beat better teams. Yeah, QMBL. Sorry, not UEA. There's always just been teams just better than them. They're not bad. They're just not quite
especially
good enough
when
anymore.
Like the Southeast 2 next year is going to be a bit tricky, but it's going to be interesting to see how they do. But I can't see them. I'm like the Southern one. Obviously, you've still got Sussex down there. Dependent on how many people stick around for Sussex, they're going to be definitely one of the more favoured teams to go up next year. And Royal Holloway are coming down. Like at the end of the day, you have to be happy that Holloway got a draw with Oxford. That says something at least.
I think the way Holloway ended the season tells you potentially how next year is going to go.
Yes, I completely agree.
I think if you forfeit your final game, it says that things aren't looking very zesty.
I completely agree. I think Coventry, they're definitely one of the teams that you can say they've been ready to go down for the last 3 years. Ever since I've been sort of doing the rundown and doing Uniball media, Coventry have always just managed to cling on. The season after COVID, I think they beat everyone apart. They lost everyone apart from Leicester. Then the year after that, they beat everyone apart from Staffordshire, and then they had a surprise win against Warwick at the end of the season, kept them up there. And then this year, they just weren't managed to beat that team who'd just come up. And considering that they're going to be going into what I assume is going to be the Midlands too, that's a tough division. Like Derby is still there, Lincoln is still there. I don't think Coventry will be doing a bounce back, but for me, Bristol, they drew with Bath, and then they beat Bath. That says enough to me that the Bristol Barracuda are going to be the team that you're going to have to look at and say it's a bit tricky. I don't think Cardiff will be. I think Cardiff will be having maybe a late playoff push potentially, but I can't see Cardiff going all the way again.
It depends, doesn't it? It depends who goes up.
Yeah.
But if you would say hypothetically, let's say hypothetically, National League doesn't happen, Cardiff drop down. It'll depend on who goes up. Because I still say they're probably stronger than most of Div 1 in the south.
Well, it's going to lead to some interesting games. Because let's say Cardiff are more likely going to get put in the southwest. So again, no National League. Let's say no National League and Exeter go up. That's a good division. They're still going to be competing with Bournemouth. Can Southampton come back? Can Bath have a bit more energy? And then obviously they've now got Swansea coming up as well. So you could have, Swansea could complete their Danos gauntlet of smashing Welsh teams. So best team in Wales rolls on. But yeah, realistically, Bristol are my team to come back up. But everyone else, it's hard time. And obviously, because it's a we haven't got much to talk about because there weren't any games this weekend. We're going to go straight into the previews. It's only been in 15 minutes, but we're going to go straight in. So, is there anything in the Prem that is tickling your fancy?
No.
Because for me, it's Durham versus SGS because of last year. But everything else, I really don't have to do the predictions, but we will. And we will do the brackets as well. UE versus Loughborough, Beckett, Birmingham, Gold, Portsmouth, SGS Durham. It's SGS Durham. That's the big game.
it's the closest, but even then,
I sort of think we spoke about it last week, didn't we? Briefly, I said I think Durham potentially.
Yeah.
But that's one I think that could go.
Either way, but everything else is sort of by the by. You know, I think we are on track to get a third matchup between the Gold and the Bullets in Loughborough on the 19th.
I know they're a Prem team, but we're not talking about that game in terms of travel. It's all like it's rough turning up to Glasgow from Warwick, but Bristol from Durham is further. I want to say, is that not the furthest?
Go on, type it in. Let us know.
It is 282 miles there.
Oh, Jesus wept. But you get
they have to go to Birmingham. True.
Now, at the end of the day, like if you're traveling all that way and you're playing on a terrible grass field that's made up of mud and goose shit, Portsmouth.
They're on 3G now, aren't they?
Have they?
3G, they got 3G.
They smear goose shit on that as well, just to get the vibe. Okay, so one thing I forgot to do before we go into the previews. Let's have a look here at some delicious. We haven't done the news flash in a while. There's not been anything that's really been.
This week's a bit of a nice one.
So it's a good one. So we had a player for Leeds Beckett. I'm not going to have any names, but if you want to see them, they're on Baffin News Flash. With approximately 8 minutes 42 remaining in the third quarter, number 29 was unhappy with a decision that didn't go his way, loudly suggesting the head linesman was being paid by the away side and was disqualified. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
That's an interesting one, considering how many times I think I've said the same things and not get ejected.
Yep. Like it's an interesting one because I think everyone at some point has turned around to a ref and been like, "You're getting paid off. You're getting absolutely paid off." Let's see here for Cambridge with 7:49 remaining in the second quarter. The player was punched in the helmet well after the play. The player was taken away multiple times by his team, but continued to chase after the player who punched him, threatening to kill him.
That doesn't sound very Cambridge to me.
No, it doesn't, does it?
Yeah.
It's very. It's very.
I've never understood punching somebody in the helmet to this day.
Now, this is one that that comes up a lot especially when you've got a decent crowd, and sort of how to and what you have to do to deal with them. So, multiple issues. The game ball was changed as one ball became deflated during the game. No team or coaches area. The field only just fitted inside the playing enclosure, which was surrounded by a high chain link fence. Early in the first quarter, the game was suspended while management moved around 30 spectators who were standing inside the restricted area to a safer location. At halftime, the visiting HC complained to the referee about the behaviour of inebriated spectators who had gathered outside the playing enclosure behind the visiting team. The referee advised the spectators are not subject to the rules and to take up issue with game management. Semicolon. Loughborough University charges for parking. So,
I think for context, it was Loughborough's final home game is always the homecoming game.
Yeah,
so they invite all the old boys back, and I mean, if you can't hack it, then it's that thing, isn't it? You're moaning about it, but then if it was on your home game and your fans were doing the same thing,
oh yeah, you wouldn't complain if it was your own boys. No. Having a go. It's just for me, and Loughborough charges for parking. Come on, Loughborough.
It's shocking.
Sort it out for the refs. Come on.
How do you think they pay for all these sports facilities?
Yep. Okay, Glasgow's pitch has no goal post, but Glasgow provided one portable goal. Unfortunately, this was deemed unsafe, and the game was played as a no post game. We've known this for a while. They've not been with goalposts, but yeah, just still nothing. Still for me, nothing beats Southampton's stream. Are there any plans to stream any of the upcoming playoff games? Yeah, because the southern fixtures were released about 2.5 hours ago.
2 hours ago.
2 hours ago. We've not yet solidified plans of which ones to do. But yeah,
I think
we're definitely going to stream some.
No. If Ben would like to pay us to do it, we will go to Exeter. Otherwise, no one's going to Exeter.
I'll go to Exeter.
No. Hold firm here. He will pay up. He will pay up.
But I've already ruined it because I've already been to Exeter.
Maybe you should go to UEA.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I live on the other side of the country.
I'd go because I thought we were going to play them, but apparently not. That's a
I
story
don't
for
know.
later.
I've still got to, think about doing the Northern Div 2 finals because I said that I was going to, but then it's just so far. It's just so far, and the MOT came back, and I need new tires. So if I want to go in there, I've got to get new tires. It's a whole big thing. But end of the day, that's what we're looking at potentially. It depends where it is as well. As much as I love you, Northumbria, that's a 5.5 hour drive, and I'd love to, but whereas Lancaster, on the other hand, only a 3.5 hour drive. Just begging Sam, begging Bloomfield, go on, just win, or Lincoln, go all the way, please. Oh, they haven't got a home pitch. Doesn't matter. So let's dip into Div 1. So in the south, Exeter versus KCL.
Can we
For
talk
me-
about the South? Can we just talk about? We found out 2 hours ago.
Yeah,
I want to know the reason. And Gary's in the comments. Gary, do you know exactly what happened in the end? Because we all know which 2 games it was on. We know which game it was. We just don't know how we ended up in a situation.
yeah. I think it was quite well known what the game was that was causing the hold up. Who won Div 1? Who came first seed?
No one knows yet.
We don't know. We'll know on March 19th who's won Div 1. Come up and see us. It's not that far. Oh.
So what was the result of the games in question regarding for the current playoff situation to happen?
Well,
But what was the shit, Gary? We need to know.
like this is it. Like I think people knew what game was holding it up, but I'm just happy that we got them before the show, and I didn't have to come on and do another round of guessing where I say guess every 15 seconds to make sure no one emails anyone. But yeah, so we'll wait to see if we've got a comment based on why. But if we dive in, I think KCL, considering that I said that I thought KCL would be relegated this year, the fact that they're in the playoffs, I will hold up my hands and I will
I respect
apologise.
it. 3, 4, and 1. I respect
3, 4, and well, we'll get into Surrey in a second, mate. Don't you worry.
But no, I think I don't think KCL would. If we said, oh, here we go. Oh.
Screwed.
Okay, it's nothing we didn't know really. Actually, what do you mean they didn't turn up? They're like interesting.
Oh, okay.
Very interesting.
UEA didn't turn up to UEA.
They just didn't turn up.
They didn't turn up.
Oh, fair play.
That's interesting.
There you go. Okay. So previous, I think UEA versus Bournemouth. I think that's a good one.
I think that could be the. Actually, you know what? All the games are. They're all juicy in that middle section, aren't they?
They're all juicy. Like when you have, we say it every year. When you have those interdivision playoff games, they're just not as exciting. Especially if it's something like NTU versus Hallam, where Hallam has beaten Sheffield. NTU has beaten Sheffield Hallam twice already. It's not that exciting.
No, I think us if we'd had Oxford, that would have been quite exciting because we're literally tied. There's no one knows who could probably win. But yeah, Exeter won. Nathan wants to know all the rankings, but we've been over. Check the website.
We haven't. Who's Exeter ranked number 1? What about the rest of our rankings? Oh wait, you talking about playoff seeding?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yes,
actually, I don't know.
Lydon. Dig into him.
I'm not going to deny it. As Ted says, I'm so far away from anything.
But here's the thing. But here's the problem, though, is that we don't know anything about Scotland. So
The difference is, I think the difference is we don't want to know anything about Scotland.
So
Yeah,
okay,
but we
okay,
somehow ended up with three
right,
teams in the playoffs. So
right. So hold on a second. So people want to know the seedings. Is that right? Because I can do that. I'll do that for you now because I didn't. I was tempted to, but
Exeter won.
Exeter won, and then are you third?
No, we're second, mate. I don't know how we've cheesed a number 2 seed.
Okay, so
I love it.
okay. So then it's Exeter 1, Brunel 2nd, Kent 3rd, UEA 4.
Yeah.
UEA 4, which means Bournemouth are 5th, and then
Oxford.
Oxford 6, and
7 is Hearts. And 8 is
then
KCL.
there you go. Let me get
That's
the
it.
North up as well.
No, that's it. That's the only playoff that there is.
Are the playoffs set for the first and second seed?
Yes, technically yes. It's bracketed, so
Yeah.
the number 2, 3, 7, and 6 are on one side of the bracket, and then 1, 4, 8, and 5 are on the other side. So, to be fair, that last minute change with the Essex UEA game has shook it up majorly for a lot of teams. I think that's the main thing. You know, Bournemouth have gone from having a home game to now travelling away.
Yeah, which I'm sure.
And UEA have ended up on the other side of the bracket now.
I'm sure they're not, pleased with. So in the north, so Nottingham Trent, they get the 1 seed. Manchester Tyrants get the 2nd. Glasgow get the 3rd. Leeds get the 4th. Edinburgh get the 5th. Warwick get the 6th. Stirling get the 7th, and Sheffield Hallam get the 8th. There you go. Yeah, like 100%. Like it's a big old journey for the Bobcats to make, but still going to be, we're looking at quality of games. Bournemouth versus UEA is definitely one that is going to be up there. No one asked me seedings for the Prem because do they have them?
No one cares. All we know is that it's going to be Notts UE in the final. Done.
Yep.
Sorry. Job done.
I'll do the southern the Div 2 ones when we get there. So realistically, everything else in the south. Kent versus Oxford. I think that's another spicy one. I personally, we're gonna do predictions in a bit. I personally don't have one for that game right now. I want to go with Kent, but again, as I say, Oxford are one of the more tricky teams about. But yeah, it's a difficult one.
so it gets interesting with the cross divisions. As I say, I always quite like watching them from our point of view, seeing there's 3 teams from Scotland in the playoffs and sort of knowing where you rank up. I don't think. I think I'm personally going to go Kent. They haven't let me down in the past, but it's interesting.
You don't have a clue what's going on in the south, Dylan. Stop trying
No,
to pretend you're Kent with.
Stop having a go.
He's your division, SJ.
He's a hard-working member of the team.
You know more than we do.
What's my opinion on it? It's a bastard of a game, is what my opinion is on it, because that is probably the hardest game.
Yeah.
To try and predict, I'd probably say in the whole no, because I'd say UEA and Bournemouth is also a.
UEA,
the thing with
Oxford
is Oxford have got some incredible athletes that make stuff happen for them.
Yeah,
they are unbelievably quick, and I think they're very good. It's going to come down to on the day who's playing.
Yeah,
I think it will come down to who's playing on the day. Whichever team's got all of their starters, I think will win. Like, it sounds silly, but you get what I mean by that.
Yeah, especially towards the end of the season. So
yes.
Okay, so we'll get into predictions later. So everyone have a think. Going to move on.
How much do you think home advantage plays in?
No, we're going to move on. We'll talk about it later. But no, so home advantage, especially if it's UEA versus Bournemouth, it's big. Both. It's no, it's not. Oxford are very much on the border of southwest and southern, so it is basically traveling from the south. Sorry, from the west to the east. But I think if Bournemouth can overcome it, they're definitely on track to come away with a win. Moving on to the north. NT versus Hallam. Don't think that. as much in that one. The rest of them, I think they're all pretty good. Leeds versus Edinburgh. Don't get me wrong, I think Leeds will win that, but be an interesting one, certainly. You know, especially considering last
Edinburgh
year
are
where
playing
they had
a
a game,
interesting.
didn't get played. Anyway, Dylan.
I was going to say Edinburgh are playing a interesting style of football and have been for a fair amount of time now. And it's very. I think the offense that Buchan has is borderline impossible to try and work out how to play against. Obviously, Leeds have been very good and dominated what Builders won
Yeah.
for however long, but I think there's a few really sort of interesting ones being the northern side of the consultancy here. But as I say, seeing how we rank up against the rest of the country.
So moving on then to Tyrone coming off, I imagine an unforeseeable loss if you're a Klansman against Heriot Watt. Again, apologies, Dylan. Are they going to be coming out with extra fire versus one of the favourites to win the entire Northern against Manchester? I think it's been an interesting game. Personally, for me, Tyrants have just been too consistent.
Yeah, I think it'd be something to go from having sort of a bad result against us to 2 weeks later taking on Manchester away and winning. Yeah. I'll be interested to see if they take their axe down in the middle of the field. I know that in my head in, but I only see that going one way, unfortunately.
Interesting. So the last one in the Northern bracket, Glasgow versus Warwick, potentially the closest one that we have. It's a long
surely going to play a part in it.
It's a long old journey for Warwick. I'm sure that if I ask if they're going to be posted up somewhere the night before, well, I think will play a factor in it for Warwick. But again, Glasgow, very, very, they've been the most consistent Scottish team. But Warwick have been good. Obviously, again, I'd still go back to that week 2, I believe, win over Hallam 40-0, 20-0, 28-0, I think.
Big score one.
It was big. It was big for Warwick, and I think it's going to be an interesting one. I don't imagine Warwick are going to get steamrolled by any means, but for me, you've got if you're Warwick, you've got to defeat the travel before you defeat the Tigers. They got two.
I think Glasgow are the first team to publicly post regarding an injury crisis they're having going into the playoffs. I don't know if you saw it today.
No,
I know it's really obvious, but they've made a post regarding their current injury situation a week before playing a team. So
I wouldn't believe it.
You don't believe it.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
So moving on to Div 2, we're going to go into the Northern bracket. So UClan finished with the 1 seed. Northumbria finished with the 2. Nottingham Green finished with the 3. Lancaster get the 4. Derby get the 5. Sheffield get the 6. Edgehill get the 7th. And Lincoln get the Open. Both Chris Tebbett teams are the 8th seed. Get in! UClan versus Lincoln. Don't get me wrong. I love Lincoln. I was there at the weekend. It was very nice. Also, me and my girlfriend did the quiz at Walkabout. We came 5th, and about 7 Colonials, they came 7th. First L of their postseason campaign. To me, unbelievable stuff. So they're facing UClan. I don't think that game. I think that game's UClan's. Like the final here.
UClan should slap them up.
Like realistically, I'm looking at these. Don't get me wrong. I think Lancaster Derby's a great game, and Nottingham Sheffield could be a great game. But for me, the final still lies in UClan versus Mustangs. It's as simple as that for me. No,
I don't know if I'd rule out Nottingham and Derby in the slightest. I think Derby have the potential to be the next Northern Liverpool of Div 2 because they were close to getting up last year.
Yeah.
Same again this year, and
100%. Yeah. 100%. That's the call to make. But then you've got to sort of look at it as is there a big dog in the Midlands too? Now that isn't Derby. You know, Lincoln are good. You've got Coventry coming down, and I don't think Coventry is going to bounce back up. So I think it's Derby's division to lose next year. But no, I do get what you mean about they are very much Liverpudlian in their sort of escapades. But yeah, for me, does anyone else have anything else to say about that? Because I do think, at the end of the day, I think Nottingham versus Northumbria in the second round, that's got potential to be an absolute amazing game. But for me, it's still Northumbria versus UClan in the finals. Like that bracket's fairly simple for me. I'm sure, Dylan, when you send me the picks for your bracket, if you want to go a different way, you go a different way.
I think I might.
Okay. Watch him be right. He'll never shut up about it if he's right. So moving on to Div 2 Southern. Swansea get the 1 seed, Brighton get the 2, UCL get the 3, Sussex get the 4, Imperial get the 5, Aberystwyth get the 6, and Gloucestershire get the 8. Swansea versus Gloucestershire. We know how that goes already. The game is being played in Gloucestershire, which is nice for me. But
so Gloucestershire technically the number 1 seed.
Yeah, we certainly are. When I was CC at the start, April last year, they decided to vote me in as club captain, and I said I want a home playoff game. I even went to the SU and I said book that weekend off for us, and thank God I did. Also, Swansea, I don't actually mean that. Please don't beat up my friend. But yeah, we sort of know how that goes. Again, I think Swansea are going to be the Southern champions. Don't get me wrong; I'd love to see Gloucestershire pull off an upset, and I'll be there for it. But I've seen Swansea; they're big, especially Billy Bateson. Brighton versus Surrey. Let's talk about it now, okay? Sort of the big thing. Hold on, the big thing to come out of these Southern 2 playoffs was the
2 wins. Surrey Stingers.
The 2 wins, the 2-2-1 Surrey Stingers, and the City Wolfpack, who were 3-4,
3-3.
3-3.
It's I think it's one that Surrey didn't even see coming, because from what I've heard, they've had to scramble to put training back on last Sunday.
Yeah,
but why would you assume you? But again, it's that tale as old as time, isn't it? Is until Bucks tell you you're out or something, or Bucks have said something in a result.
3-2.
3-2 winning record in that, right, in the playoffs is pretty.
3-2.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, if you looked at all the projections that we got, because people send to Sport Tank, what they think. Sorry was in none of them.
No.
Sorry was none of them. But it seems Sorry was surprised. It does happen. I remember my first year in Lincoln. We got surprised that we were in the playoffs. We didn't have training for 2 weeks, and then they're like, "Oh, by the way, get your ass to training. We've got to go up to Edinburgh in a few weeks."
I bet you wish you hadn't had playoffs.
It does happen. To be fair, if I remember that year correctly, Edinburgh hadn't conceded any points, and we lost by 3. And I think they. So have that. I wish
I
I
remember
knew.
being told about 2 weeks ago that Stirling weren't going to be in the playoffs due to having to void the game with Aberdeen and the Napier rearrangement. They didn't think it was going to get played. And they somehow got they got the walkover from the Napier game last Wednesday. Still didn't play Aberdeen for the match this weekend. Not even 8th, it was 7th.
Again, it happens, but okay, so Surrey are in it now. Don't get me wrong. Good, I guess good on Surrey for getting in, but I don't think they're going to be coming away with a victory over Brighton.
Wasn't that game close?
Dylan?
Let me have a look.
Which game?
Sussex versus Imperial. Again, I think Imperial are, I think they're a step above Sussex.
I think Imperial got a point to prove now, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think they have, for me, I thought that the final would end up being Imperial versus Swansea. And that's a game that it looks like we're going to be getting in the semis.
Brighton Surrey was 28-20.
Yeah,
28-20.
You know what? That's not as 28-20. Yeah, 28-20. That's not as
not as bad.
Surrey
not
scored
as-
more against Brighton.
I
than
tell
any
you, I
other
tell you
team
what.
this season.
Sorry, pull it off. They could have the best wild card run of any team ever because, UCL versus Aberystwyth. Like I think that game's good, but I wouldn't be able to call that one. For me, like I think I just have to go with UCL because of the travel, the travel from Aberystwyth.
Is
Um,
it? Here you go. This is one. Is it a better playoff run than the old Greenwich Mariners one from a couple of years
Yeah,
ago?
I think if Surrey can beat Brighton, and then I don't think it's too far out the possibility if Surrey can beat Brighton, go on to beat the winner of UCL versus Aberystwyth, and even appear in the final. I think that's a better playoff run than the Mariners a few years ago. I really, really do. I think that'll be a shock to people. But for me, Brighton Surrey, I'm taking Brighton. Less sure than I was before. UCL Aberystwyth, we'll do that in the predictions. I think Sussex again, great defense, but I think we should. And the Brighton game, I think we showed there was holes. I think Imperial will exploit. Swansea, Gloucestershire. Yeah, there you go. So moving on, we are going to do the brackets once obviously it was quite difficult to do the brackets, graphic with the Southern one only being released 2 hours ago, so it was quite difficult. So that's why they're not done. So here we go. The first playoff round, because we are going to do the graphic, but I'm also going to do this now just to make it easier for us. Okay, starting off in the Prem, the Bullets versus Loughborough.
You actually getting the
Bullets.
stats?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Are you guys doing by how much?
I'm going by 60.
60.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to leave old Jadrian on for much longer than they need to.
I don't know if I can do that. Like, I feel like the playoffs are a bit different gravy, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah, it's disrespectful. You're a scumbag, Dylan. You've just
That's
been
because
baited.
former Loughborough players not having any of this.
I'll tell them what your Instagram name is, and they can all bully you.
It's not that hard to find.
Okay, so I imagine I'm just going to go SJ, unless you're picking for an upset here.
I love my guys at Loughborough, but let's not take the piss here.
Yeah, 100%. But Bullets. Beckett versus Birmingham could be a game. I'm used to picking Birmingham in the first round. Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you think Cardiff versus Carnegie is a better game?
Oh, that's hard. But the fact that it's even been debated at this point is quite funny.
Yeah. But Beckett, yeah. Then we've got the Gold versus Portsmouth. Yeah.
I think it'll be Gold, but Portsmouth will do their best to make it as shit house as possible.
I think it will be close. I think it'll be closer than people expect.
I think it will. Yeah, I do as well. I think Portsmouth has shown they're a very well coached team this year. They're great players as well, led around. So
it's going to be one of the more difficult ones. Personally, I think the Beckett versus Birmingham could be rough, but not as rough as Gold Portsmouth could be. SGS versus Durham, sort of game of Prem game. You're looking at here.
Durham.
Let's say it. SGS.
That's my upset. That's my upset of the week.
Because I think I sort of want to pick Durham as well.
Let's not be silly, boys. I like that we're trying to get extravagant with it, but
yeah, he's right.
there's no way I'm the only person picking SGS. That can't run.
Fine. No, he is right. Okay, I'll pick SGS. I'll pick SGS because Jamie will definitely pick Durham. He definitely will. That's fine. Okay, you've convinced me. Okay, moving on to Div 1. UEA versus Bournemouth.
So this is
It's hard. It's hard.
I'm going on my knowledge of the Southeast in previous years, and I'm going to say Bournemouth. I think it's the weakest of the three.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sorry, anyone in the southeast, but it's true.
Nothing's been proven against that since, well, funny enough, since UEA went up.
Yeah.
What, 5-6 years ago now?
Dylan, what say you?
I'm going UEA.
UEA. You know what? I think I'm just because I don't think you can count the Bobcats out, and they're not going to be very happy about
Travelling to Norwich.
traveling. It's the travel for me that's put me off, but I'm gonna go with the Bobcats. The Bobcats.
They
you know,
don't strike
very-
me as a team that gets upset about having to travel far. Like, as in,
you know,
obviously they'll be annoyed, but they'll. What's Blackpool? Fine.
You know, the Bobcats seldom, let you down in times like this. Exeter versus KCL.
Exeter.
Yep.
Sorry, there's no.
Yep, I completely agree. This one's just for me and you, Dylan. Brunel versus Hearts. I'm going Brunel.
Was this game not close earlier in the season? Oh my god!
Earlier in the season it was, but last week it wasn't.
Can we get that comment right there?
Yeah, I'll
Hearts
go
to
really.
Brunel is a long drive.
Are you looking it up?
No, I said Brunel.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I thought you were looking it up. I was like,
It's-
you
it's-
don't
No,
think
no.
you have to, mate. It's fine.
It's the shortest drive in the entire playoffs, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Oxford. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to pick, because they don't let me down, I'm going to pick the Kent Falcons.
I'm gonna pick Kent as well.
I'll go Oxford just to maintain
Spice it up
some
a bit.
little level of balance.
Okay.
You've got to go Oxford based on your southeastern claim about 5 minutes ago, I think.
Well, there you go. Look, simple as we are not upset. It's football. Straight
There we
in.
go.
Straight in with Coach Rains. He loves it. Exactly. So I'm picking. I'm going for Bournemouth. So moving on to the Div 1 North, NTU versus Hallam.
NTU.
NTU, yeah, NTU all the way. They've already smashed them twice. Griffins versus Mavericks. I'm back in Leeds.
Leeds, yeah, Leeds.
I'll go with Leeds. I'm terrified of Fraser meeting me if and then we'll pull off an upset.
So who are you going for?
Leeds.
Leeds, oh Christ.
I'm fully aware we might be waving at
Yep.
Instagram right now.
I mean, they could do it. It is a great game. Manchester versus Stirling. Manchester. I think Leeds and Manchester. They're the favourites to have the division for a reason. I think they're both going to win it.
Manchester. Yeah.
Yep. SJ.
Manchester.
Okay, and the Glasgow Uni Tigers versus the Warwick Wolves. Too consistent for me. I'm going to go with
Warwick.
Glasgow.
Warwick.
Oh,
Glasgow.
okay. So moving on to the Division 2s. I've got to keep looking at the chat just to make sure we're not getting. Yeah, we're just pleased the waiting's over. Yeah.
There is a lot of frustrated coaches over the last few days.
There's a lot of bus drivers getting a call now going, where is everyone? So moving on to Div 2 in the north, UClan versus Lincoln.
UClan.
You get to the northern bunch. Derby.
I'm going Derby.
Derby.
Yeah. We've got Northumbria versus Edge Hill. Northumbria. Yeah. Northumbria, and then Sheffield versus Green.
Green. Is that
Green.
in Sheffield?
No, it's in Nottingham.
Nottingham, yeah.
Yep. Nice, neat, nice and simple. So moving on to the south, Swansea versus Gloucestershire.
Swansea.
Notice how silent I'm being.
Do Swansea Are Swansea gonna have a pitch next year?
I hope so.
Because you cannot be in Div 1 without a pitch.
I'm fairly certain they'll have
Oh.
a pitch. I believe that that like a pitch was being built and it just has taken too long.
Do we know if UCL are going to have a pitch next year?
Fuck off.
Sussex versus Imperial. Good one, but I'm going with Imperial.
Imperial.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be on a little redemption arc. Oh, I think they're annoyed anyway.
SJ, what are you thinking?
Imperial.
Imperial from the off, and then Brighton versus Surrey.
See, if I go with Surrey here, it's going to look like I hate Brighton because I don't think I picked Brighton that many times.
There's no way you're going to go with Surrey.
I'm going Brighton.
Brighton.
Cool. And last but by no means least, UCL Aberystwyth.
UCL.
Right, just for that, I think I'm going to pick Aberystwyth. Why not? Why not back them? But, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. You know the playoffs now. If you're in them, get ready. If you're not, watch them. Go and watch them. There'll be some good football. We've got some great games on. We don't know what the live stream game will be this week yet, but stick around to the social medias and you'll find out. It's as simple as that. So if you're playing this week, good luck.
Thanks, Chris.
Try to stay healthy. Oh, thanks. Dylan, what are you going to do this weekend?
That's a good question.
Same as you did last year. No playoffs.
Yeah, I'll probably be at World training on Sunday. I'll have you know, by this time last year, we'd already won our first playoff game. Kind of.
You didn't play your first playoff game?
No, York had conceded at this point, so we were well and safely through to Leicester.
Just to be like, just to turn and be like, nah, I don't want it either.
Nah, I want to go pub. Okay, but yeah, if you're not playing, enjoy your pubs. If you're enjoying playing, good.
Oh, Six Nations, that's what I'm doing. Sorry. Good point.
Nobody asked.
Wait, so you're not going to go and watch Edinburgh versus or Glasgow versus Warwick?
I might go watch that in the morning if it's in Edinburgh. I'm
What
not
are you
going
actually going to
to
watch? Are you going to watch Wales play rugby instead? I don't know much about rugby, but even I know Wales is shit right now.
It's a young team.
Okay.
Like, you know what? I'm about to make the same excuses for Wales that I made for Harry Wolverines. It is a very young and upcoming team. Actually, they're showing their attack is all. Oh, why are we talking about wrong show? Right, move on.
So, listen, we will see you next week. Keep your eyes peeled for the live streamed game, and we'll see you here next week where we'll be discussing obviously all the games that have happened and the Div 1 games that will be happening the week after. So, yeah, catch you here. Probably 7. Hopefully, Jamie's back, and maybe Connor's back. We don't know yet.
I'll be here potentially, depending on Sunday.
That's how it works. Lose, yeah. If Gloucestershire lose, I'm not here either. So
Dylan's running.
Keep that in mind, Swansea. If you want a rundown next week,
with my unbelievably limited knowledge of the South, I'll be here alone.
Can't believe you're getting